Hello, and welcome to this your favorite channel, Edison Explains. Let's talk about manga, or how you might know it, Japanese comics. You might have seen comics like these ones before, and they are usually associated with weird people, nerds, otakus, geeks, but we don't really know what is this about. In this video, we are going to discuss about manga, its art, its origins, and at the end, I'm going to tell you about some of the titles that I have enjoyed the most, just in case you want to get something to read. Recognizing manga is kind of easy because it is full of characters with
this my shit. All the girls.
Recognizing manga is kind of easy because it is full of characters with big and expressive eyes and crazy hairstyles. But that's not the only thing. They come in black and white, you read them from top to bottom and from left to right. The texts are with fewer.
It's not from right to left?
Yes. You read them from top to bottom and right to left. The texts are with fewer words and easier to understand. If you compare it with American comics, you will notice that Japanese manga uses finer and cleaner lines. By manga, we understand Japanese comics, but in Japan, the same word is used for any kind of drawing art, including comics, coloring books, graphic novels, and even American comics. Let's look into the history of this beautiful art, and we are going to divide this in three big chunks. Before the downfall operation, during such invasion, and after the USA invasion to Japan. Before the downfall operation, meaning before the USA invasion to Japan, you can trace back the origins of manga to the 12th and 13th century, in which we found drawings of frogs acting as humans. It evolved into the ukiyo-e art, which looked to display the sensory pleasures from the urban life. The artists here used wooden planks to paint famous actors, singers, sumo wrestlers, but also sensual and erotic scenes, the women that you can hire for committing those acts, and some other mundane pleasures. The definition of the word manga as we know it, as a Japanese comic, was first used by Rakuten Kitazawa, who lived from 1876 until 1955. We can split the word manga in two parts, man and ga. Man in Japanese means scribble or a rough drawing, and ga means picture or something visual, meaning that manga in Japanese means anything that you can scribble. Just like many other ancient civilizations, the Japanese people wrote their stuff on rolls of paper, and when they read it, they do so from top to bottom and from right to left. That is why the mangas use the same behavior. At the end of the Second World War, the USA invaded Japan during the downfall operation. The goal was to ensure that Japan will not engage in another war. With the arrival of the United States, Disney came along, with its Mickey Mouse, Bambi and other characters, and also the American comic influenced the children of that time, which later became the mangakas or manga creators as we know it. Once the downfall operation ended, and these mangakas grew up, one of them was more...
I'm not going to edit all of that.
Okay, once the downfall operation ended and this mangaka grew up, one of them became the god of the manga and the godfather of the anime, Osamu Tezuka, the creator of Astro Boy. His designs, which implemented the big and expressive eyes and the strange hairstyles, became trendy in the manga and anime. With this new style and the amazing stories, the manga started to spread across the world. The alliance between France and Japan, through which some manga content was created in collaboration, led to have France the entry port for all the manga content to the Western civilization. The manga market suffers from two major threats right now. On one hand, Western civilizations does not easily accept cultural expressions from other countries, especially from the Middle East and the East. This means that the content that we receive through manga and anime needs to be highly modified from their original content. On the other hand, piracy have really hit hard the manga industry. This was born from students who were learning Japanese and decided to buy mangas, scan, and distribute them through the internet. This ended with multiple unofficial translations and in the end affected the financial status of the mangakas. Even though the last decade was really hard for the manga industry, these last few years have been better thanks in part to the Indian people, which is now consuming this kind of market. Just like any other literary art, the reader chooses what kind of stories he wants to consume. The same applies to the manga, but there are some general categories in which they are classified depending on the nature of the story. Let's start with shonen. It is by far the most renowned genre from manga. It is focused on male public and it encompasses stories with flashy heroes, amazing battle, incredible special effects now.
This my shit. All the girls.
Depicts stories with flashy heroes, amazing battle, and impressive effects. Let's continue with shoujo. This is more focused on the female public and depicts stories more romantic and relationships from the point of view of the women. But that doesn't mean that the men can enjoy some of the great titles that you can find in this category, and the other way around the same. In shonen, you find great titles like Dragon Ball, One Piece, One Punch Man, or Naruto. In shoujo, you also find great titles like Sakura Card Captor, Sailor Moon, or Chobits. Shonen ai or yaoi explores the love relationships between men. Here we find titles such as Like the Beast or Honto Yayu. And since everything should be balanced, Shoujo Ai or Yuri explores the love relationships between women. Here we find titles such as Citrus. Last but not least, Hentai. It is one of the most renowned categories from the manga and anime. But I want to clarify something here. Hentai in Japanese means perverted and is not only associated with pornographic content, but since all the Western civilization seems to assimilate hentai to erotic content, then the publishers decided to use it for that kind of content. Under this category, we can find delicious titles such as Slut Girl and Triple H. These are the major categories in which the mangas are classified for selling purposes, but there are a lot more subgenres and styles that we can cover in a different video. For example, gore, which are stories more regarding horror and scary stories such as Gantz. Are you liking mangas now? Do you want to read some? Then I have some suggestions based on some titles that I find pretty representative of the manga. Rurouni Kenshin, or how we know it from this side of the world, Samurai X, is maybe one of the most representative animes from our childhood. The manga was written by Nobuchiro Watsuki between April 1994 and September 1999. What I enjoy the most from this title is that it mixes real historic facts, like the transition from the Edo to the Meiji period in Japan history, alongside with real historic characters, such as Okubo, Hajime Saito, the Shinsengumi, and the Tokugawa, and they are mixed in a fantastic story regarding a vagabond samurai who is a key part in the resolution and the progress of Japan. It is teeming with interesting stories, friendly characters, and touches critical topics such as corruption in politics. Our next in the list is Full Metal Alchemist, created by Hiromu Arakawa and published from July 2001 and June 2010. The story mixes alchemy, the equivalent exchange, and it is written under the influence of the Europeans' first industrial revolution. The story of this manga is intriguing. The mother of two small kids dies, and they try to revive her through alchemy, but everything goes wrong, and they have to go through some serious in order to fix the mess that they build up. It mixes topics such as science, the 7 deadly sins, and other different cultures, which makes it even more interesting. Also, the internal conflict of the characters and the plot twists are shocking. One last point, the fights in this manga are well timed and last a fair amount of time, which makes it even more interesting.
Hi, I'm Dani, and today I'm going to talk about one of my favorite mangas, Chobits. This manga was created by The Clamp and was published from 2000 to 2002. This is a romantic, dramatic, and even a comic story. This is a story about Hideki, who someday finds a robot in the trash called Persocom, and he brings her back to home. A complex plot starts to develop between Hideki and the Robocop, who is called... A complex story starts to develop between Hideki and the Persocom called She, and depending on the point of view from the reader of the manga, it might be romantic. This story is interesting because it leads us into a complex, deep, and sensitive debate. Think about this. What would you do if your personal assistant, Siri, Google, Alexa, develop their own feelings and thoughts, and they fall in love with you? Well, so that's why I invite you to read this awesome manga that was significant to me and touched my heart.
Elfenlied, created by Lee Nakamoto and published between June 2002 and August 2005. What will happen if the humankind evolves into an improved species, smarter and stronger, but one which by instinct kills the previous one as means of survival? Well, that's Elfenlied. It's bloody and cruel, but it really makes you wonder how humans react to unexpected situations and environments. There is an anime adaptation for this manga, which lasts 12 episodes, but it doesn't tell you even the half of the story that the manga has. So I really encourage you to read it and find out what's missing. Alright, my last suggestion is Zazanice, created by Yuzo Takada and published between 1987 and 2002. This is one of the oldest manga that I have read, and you can see how the art evolves as the story progresses. This story mixes peculiar ingredients. You can find zombies in a way you have never seen them before, and immortal characters beside vampires. Zazanai travels across different locations, such as Hong Kong, China, the Himalayas in India, Turkey, in Tokyo, of course. In this amazing story, the protagonist dies in the first chapter. But don't worry, I haven't spoiled anything yet. The story is highly influenced by the Hindu mythology, and its timeline starts with the creation of the humankind and the world and lasts up until today. That's all, folks. I hope you have enjoyed this video. I have, because I love talking about this kind of stuff, and I will provide you with some interesting links in the description. Leave your comments, smash like and subscribe. I will provide you with the link to my Instagram account, and please support me so I can keep explaining stuff.